We on? Okay. Hi everybody. Okay, there have been a lot of questions about how to make soap. This is actually just going to be a simple grandma's lye soap, lye, lard, and water. Doesn't get any more pure than that. A lot of people have expressed their fear about using lye, but if you've ever barbecued, you've controlled a very volatile element. This is no different. This is just little crystals. If you follow the directions, obey the rules, you'll be fine. You always want to do this in a well-ventilated area. The bigger the batch you make, the more ventilation that you want, because this will produce a steam that has lye in it. If you breathe it, it'll ruin your day. So what you want to do is add your lye into the water, because what it's going to do with the chemical reaction is make this water very, very hot. I believe about 200 degrees. Be careful, don't splatter it on yourself. Another thing is, a lot of people use wooden spoons. I disagree with that. I've been making soap for a very long time. With the reaction of the lye and the water, because it gets so hot and the lye is so volatile, it'll actually start to disintegrate your wood spoon, and you get little tiny splinters in your soap. So personally, just for me, that's a no-no. Another thing, no. Actually, no, it won't. As long as this can stand about 200 degrees, which most plastics can anyway, you want to make sure it's a little bit thicker, then it'll be fine.
Don't use lard, right?
No.
Anything else?
No. Yeah, anything that costs less than $1 a piece, you probably kind of want to stay away from.
By the way, that was like $7.
And it's perfect for your lye, your water, and your fat. A lot of people believe that your water, or your lye water and your fat must be the same temperature. That's not true. As long as you have this, not refrigerator cold, but even room temperature, this combination will heat it up so much that it will melt your fat. Now this is, well, it's a solid fat, so this is actually going to go very quickly, because this will saponify, or at least emulsify very quickly once you get this combination emulsified, because fat and water doesn't really mix. This is the emulsifier, the lye, sodium hydroxide. That's what you want to use. This is what you would use to make a solid soap. There's potassium hydroxide that actually does not have the element of sodium, which is salt, which will make a liquid soap. The potassium hydroxide makes liquid. Sodium hydroxide is what you use for a solid. If you only have potassium hydroxide, which is basically potash, throw in a little bit of salt. You're done. Very simple. It's just simple chemistry. You don't have to be a complete and total nerd like me and read all into it. Just know this is how you do it. Okay, you can melt your fat, but if you choose to do so, know that it will add on to your time of how long it's going to take you to get to trace. And by trace is once you add the lye water into the fat, it's going to loosen up. It's going to get really loose and liquid. This won't, because this is lard and this is kind of a different thing here. But you want it to get like cooked pudding, to where the trace is where you leave a little trace of soap on the top to let you know it's fully emulsified. If there's any separation, keep stirring. Sometimes this will take an hour to emulsify. Sometimes it'll happen like that. Because I say it's going to go quickly, it probably won't. I'm a card-carrying Murphy's member. Okay, you want to have protection on, because you don't want to get this on you. I recommend you have vinegar nearby, because that will neutralize the lye. Don't wipe it off, because that will wipe off skin. And don't be scared by that. You've barbecued, this will be fine.
Where's the vinegar?
I'm good.
I forgot vinegar. I made some the other day and splattered it all over me. And it didn't hurt at all, guys.
So your soap is not like your cake batter. You don't want to drop it to get the air bubbles out. Shimmy it. Don't drop your soap. Hi. Don't drop your soap. Okay. All right, everybody ready? Because this is going to go quickly. I recommend also you have a stick blender. Don't use a regular blender or the little mixer. It's just going to, whip it up into air, and this is really the best way to go. So keep it simple. You don't have to have anything fancy. This is $20 at Walmart. If you get a metal one, it's even better. Okay, ready? Lye into water, and you will see steam. If you do this outside, make sure you pay attention to which way the air flows. If you smell it, don't go and hold your breath. Stop breathing. Just stop breathing. The wind will take it away. And change where you are. Just change your position. It's hot.
See how hot that is, folks?
This will get cloudy as it starts to get clear. That's how you know it's dissolved.
You getting to the same?
I can, it's hot. Okay, so it's starting to get clear. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but it's getting a little bit clear. It's going to look at first like you mix milk and water, kind of like that. It'll start to get clear. Then you pour this carefully over your fat. Don't splash. Don't be in a hurry.
So how much is this yield out?
This is, I believe, what, 2-pound batch?
2-pound batch.
I have a video on how to do the math for this. Each fat has its own saponification level of how much lye you need to saponify different kinds of fat. Each fat brings a different element to the soap. You know, lard makes a nice hard white soap. Creamy lather, very simple, it's just like grandma's lye soap. Coconut oil can be irritating to the skin. You don't want to use any more than, say, 10% of that of your fat, but it'll make it bubbly. Olive oil makes a hard soap, but it's brown. It'll be a creamy lather. So look it up. Look it up. Know what you're using. You don't want to use like a bunch of fats that's going to make a really soft soap.
Do you use just straight tallow?
I use tallow. I use lard. Lard is my main base. I've done all Castile soap, which is just a vegetable oil soap. Just olive oil soap. It just depends. If you're a vegetarian, you can use all vegetable oil. You know, you can use shortening. I have not done shortening. $30 for 25 pounds. So you kind of want to mush this down. Now I'm going to use a stick blender. Thank goodness we have electricity today. This will go faster, and this is going to go really fast. You just kind of want to take your stick blender, mush down a lump, wait till it's done, because you don't want to splash this up on you. With something that I've noticed when you use lard, when you first mix it with the lye, it'll actually get a peachy tone to it, and then it'll turn white. So if you want to make a soap that has a really pretty color to it, use lard as your base. It'll make a nice true white soap. Be careful you don't tilt your stick blender, because it will spit soap up out. At this point it's still raw and volatile, and it'll be harder to get off your skin because of the fat. It's already reached trace. Yeah. You want to use about 5% scent, as in 5% of your total fat amount. I'm using Plumeria. There you go. And I really eyeball it. I've been doing it for so darn long, I don't even measure anymore. But say you use like 500 ounces of fat, then you do 5% of that's 10 ounces. Let's start moving that here, that way we can get the mold right there. Pardon me? No, it's just fragrance. You can use essential oil, but just remember, soap is a chemical experiment. Things will go differently every time. Your colors may turn something else. There is a blue frosting paste gel that I use, and with the reaction it turns lavender. So I use the blue for a lavender. So it's trial and error. The fragrance you use may seize your soap, as in make it just a big gloppy Vaseline-like mess. You can still use it, it's just not going to be pretty.
Gloppy Vaseline.
Soap will still clean you even if it doesn't look beautiful. Barney fingers.
How long will keep this open? Can I get it on?
Promise I won't get you, sweetie.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's Barney purple.
It's very purple. Twinkie pan. Okay, then you pour it into your mold. The soap is not soap yet. There is a process called saponification. Basically, it's where the lye molecules, which are used, they use the water as a carrier, will bond and transform the fat into soap. And what you always want to do is have a little bit of an overage on fat than lye, because if you happen to do your measurements just a little bit off, you always want to have leftover fat, not lye. And it's called super fatting because a little bit of extra fat in your soap is just moisture for your skin. You don't want to do any more than 5% because if you have about 10% overage, it's going to go rancid.
That works.
Any questions so far?
What's the shelf life?
Yeah, it's still hot. I can feel the heat.
Oh yeah, it's going to be warm. Then what you do is you want to cover it up, and it's called putting it to bed. Or basically, you cover it up and you let it do what's called a gel process. And this is a real sophisticated operation. I've got a bag and a box. And you let it heat up, and it's going to gel. And that's the reaction that you want. So in about 24 hours, you'll take this out, cut it up, put it on a rack, and let it cure for 3 to 4 weeks. The way you test it, scratch a little bit off, stick it to your tongue. If it zings like a battery, it's not ready yet. If it tastes sweet, it's ready. I've done it a million times and I'm still here. That's how they used to do it in the old days. That's how I do it. You can get litmus paper, you can get all this other stuff if you want to do it, but really, I'm still here. And I brush my teeth with soap. So, all right, and so the soap is done. Just a plain white soap, scented with Plumeria. It's going to stay like that. In 24 hours, you can take it out. It'll be like soft butter, I guess like refrigerator butter, about that consistency. You just slice it up, wearing gloves, and you put it out on a rack. And just let it dry. Let all the water evaporate out of it, and you'll have your own homemade soap. Now the thing about store-bought soap, it's not really soap anymore. They have taken all the good stuff out of it, like glycerin, and they sell it to cosmetic companies, and they use petroleum-based emollients in it, and your skin does not absorb petroleum-based emollients. This has all the good stuff in it. It produces its own glycerin. This is fabulous stuff, and if you make it, I will be insanely proud of you, because my daughter has eczema. This has cured her eczema. I use this soap to clean my house, clean my dishes, everything, and my husband doesn't have asthma anymore, my son doesn't have asthma anymore. I have no problems. I mean, I'm almost 40. It takes care of my skin. My daughter's skin is fine. I even use it on the dog. So, you use it for pretty much anything. If you do use it for laundry, you want to use the low suds fat, like lard. You don't want to put coconut oil in there because you'll get a bunch of bubbles. And I don't know if you've ever seen that Brady Bunch episode where they have the bubbles coming out of the washer. That's not great. So there you go. The reason why I use this box, so you can just close it up. Ta-da!
Can you come up here for a minute?
Sure.
Cena is such a gracious lady. She spends every meetup sitting at the table, just greeting all of you and making you all feel welcome, because I'm running around like a crazy person. And G and I would like to present this soap to you.
Oh my goodness.
So that you have your first step of soap. Just be careful with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for everything, honey. Hopefully you like the fragrance.
In 24 hours, slice it up and leave it out to dry. Thank you.